After spending 3 days attending 12 talks and walking over 20,000 steps, I'm back from one of my favourite conferences of the year, Bath Digital Festival 2019. Attending the festival is my chance to break out of the day-to-day and take a look around at what other businesses are up to. This year, I've been lucky enough to interview many of the speakers and some of the attendees, so I'll be sharing these to give you a flavour of the state of technology and marketing. As usual, my detailed notes are on our blog at ratherinventive.com. I hope you enjoy. I'm here at Bath Digital Festival 2019. Arrived really early because I'm speaking this morning, which is I'm really happy about, although a little bit nervous. As usual, we're doing our roundup. I'll be going to a lot of events. I've got a couple lined up, like Does Anyone Actually Read Anymore?, which is after my event today at 12 o'clock. Then we've got How Small Brands and Business Can Launch a Viable Influencer Marketing Activity, which sounds quite fun. Video creation, which I'm all about, so if any tips I can learn on that, more the merrier. Anyway, I better go in because my event's going to start soon. It's just over there. I'm going to head over to the Bath Digital Festival head office and get started. I'll see you later. So I snagged Jack Cook after his talk on Beyond Brand. And there was a really interesting thing you told me about, which was LinkedIn and why that's really good for organic visibility.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, LinkedIn obviously it's early days and they're ever changing, the way they present themselves to the world. So it used to be really stuffy, shirt and tie. Now it's becoming a bit more, hate using the word, millennial, I suppose. A bit more, savvy, a bit cooler. And the reason for that is because they want to outcompete, Facebook. Any of the other social media platforms, Twitter. So if at the moment, because it's fresh, they haven't chucked in the advertising spend. They're not asking you to boost posts or anything like that. They want people to see your content. They want to create a network. So the best way they could do that is give you the best organic reach. So really utilising that now, it's a blank canvas. If you give it 6 months, it could change again. 12 months, who knows? 2 years. So really, people need to be on board and just absolutely smashing it right now.
Good. Yeah, I'll give that a go. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I've just been to Amy Morse's presentation on copywriting and, effectively copywriting, but it's like why people don't read anymore. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple of key interesting things that you mentioned. One was VARC, which was an abbreviation. Mm-hmm. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it's a little bit of a kind of learning skills and educational training 101 stuff, really. I can't remember off the top of my head who came up with the theory, but basically VARC stands for visual, aural or audio, reading and writing, and kinesthetic, and it's the 4 key learning styles that people have. So all of us have some degree of that combination that we find is easier to sort of consume and learn from information. So for me personally, I tend to find that actually I'm quite a visual person, but I still enjoy writing.
That's
so
interesting. Right.
Yeah, so when I'm reading, I'm sort of like seeing a film in my head, and when I'm writing, I'm kind of visualising it, if you like. But then, so my first preference is visual, and then reading and writing. I like to see something and then reflect on it in writing and then read up more about it before I have a go at stuff. Other people might prefer to just get straight stuck in, so they tend to be more kinesthetic learners, and you can quite often spot a kinesthetic learner because they like textures, they're always touching things, they like to kind of, you'll quite often, they'll be wearing like really furry textual clothes and things like that. They're quite demonstrative people generally, they like to kind of get stuck in. And then very often we find that actually we get sort of conditioned into a learning type of reading and writing through academia, but actually a lot of academic study, often it's focusing on that one key learning style, which is why often you get people who struggle to learn in a sort of classroom situation, because actually you're not appealing to their kind of dominant learning style, if you like.
So it's just using that idea and applying that online where you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about making it a multi-sensory experience for people. And that goes for anything, really. When you're writing something as well, think about how you can bring in all the senses, whether it's visual, you're hearing something. When you're talking about a passage, say, in some fiction, you can just be describing the smells and the sounds and the textures and the tastes and the look of things. Yes. And then all of that is appealing to learning styles.
You might not be able to bring the sort of touch and sense alive, but you could do do that in words and sort of describe it.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
that makes
So
sense.
you can kind of use different words to describe the softness or the hardness or the texture of something.
Right.
So.
Okay, that's a good idea. Something else you mentioned, which I found interesting, is that you've left Instagram, you've moved over to LinkedIn. Tell me why that is.
Yeah, well, I was always on LinkedIn anyway, and because actually my business is very much business to business. Because I do training, I go into businesses and I teach kind of creative skills and content creation, and so actually more of my audience is on LinkedIn anyway. But also, I'm not the sort of person. I'm actually a little bit of a technophobe. If I didn't work for myself, I probably wouldn't even have a smartphone. If I'm honest.
Sometimes I wish I didn't have a smartphone.
Yeah, so actually I'm not the kind of person that kind of feels like I have to document everything with pictures.
Yeah.
I've got friends who do that a lot and they love Instagram, and actually one of my friends who does that was like, oh, you'll love Instagram, but it's just, I sort of found it a bit of pressure to like think of something interesting to take a picture of every day when it's not a natural inclination. And like, heaven forbid, I use like an actual camera to take pictures. So I really struggled with the fact that Instagram was like a phone-only interface. It's like the faff of, I've taken a picture on a camera and I've got to put it on a file and then I've got to copy it across to my phone and I couldn't bothered.
Yeah.
So
It's a big ordeal to do that.
Yeah, it was. And also, it wasn't really, my audience weren't really there. It wasn't really the right platform for me. I think when it comes to social media, it's very much about quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I think you're much better off really focusing your energy on one or two platforms that you don't hate, that aren't a faff, and where your audience actually are, and making the most of that. Because at the end of the day, you only need one or two doors into your visual shop for people to come in. So, visual shop, virtual shop.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Amy. I really enjoyed your talk.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
This episode is sponsored by 34SP. They offer fast, secure and managed WordPress hosting for the low price of $9.95 a month. Now, we've moved most of our clients over to 34SP now. We're previously using a shared hosting supplier, but it was becoming rapidly unreliable, and most of the sites we had on there were getting incredibly sluggish. So I was really impressed with 34SP's speed. It was incredibly fast. They've got server and page caching. In fact, when we moved over our first site, it went from 1.5 seconds, which is okay, to 0.4 seconds, which I was really impressed with. And the admin interface when you're adding content or adding plugins to WordPress, that was incredibly speedy. I was very impressed. They also offer a free SSL certificate with Let's Encrypt, managed updates of the WordPress core and your plugins, so that saves a lot of time. Free seamless site migrations, which I make full use of when we bring clients over. A staging area to spin up a copy of the website. This is really useful if you've got plugins you want to test out, because you can test them out in a safe area. No restriction on bandwidth. You've got a simple control panel, and I wish many other hosts would use this type of control panel. It's really good. And great support, even on the weekend, which I've definitely used. So if you're interested in upgrading your WordPress hosting, visit 34sp.com. And when you do, at the checkout, use the code WPInventive. That's WPInventive, all one word, to get your first 3 months completely free. Bum, bum, bum. Well, it's day 2 of the Bath Digital Festival for me, certainly. It's a very cold, misty morning, as you can probably see. I'm back here in earnest at 9 o'clock for the first talk, which is, actually I've just signed up for it. I didn't realise about it when I was planning, and it's about video from a guy I actually met yesterday. So I'm really looking forward to that. More video. But actually first on my list is a talk about, is Google a monopoly? And should they be broken up by the government? So that should be quite a fun talk. I'm really quite interested to see where that particular talk goes. In the afternoon, there's a rather interesting talk about 6 numbers to run your business, the digital version. And I'm always interested at better ways to do business, more efficient ways to really look at how we're working and whether that can be improved. And if I learn anything, I'll certainly pass it on. Your talk was really good.
Yeah.
It's all about personal branding, and I'm at the beginning of my journey with this podcast, into trying to take it from something which was just general chit chat between me and a colleague into something that has meaning. Can you just give me a quick insight into the talk? Maybe one thing that would help people in terms of personal branding if they're starting out.
So my talk was about personal branding, and the one thing that I would say is just put out content. So like you're doing now with your mobile phone, make content and you're just having a conversation. So this is pretty easy content for you. You don't have to think about it. You've got me giving you the answers, if that makes sense. So I do a similar thing with my podcast, and then I can create loads of content from that. Also connect on the various different platforms. Use Instagram as a kind of way if you're at an event, say it's a networking event that's quite big or something, look for people and people that have posted to that location, because you can go in I'm sure you can screenshot it to the video, but you can go to the search bar and search by location or by tags, so you can see who's tagged them into the
Yeah, I really like that idea when you brought it up, but it's something that I do a little bit of, but I don't do enough. Maybe there's a fear that they're not going to be interested in me, but we were just talking about that off camera, and you're saying, if they're not interested. No. That's fine.
What loss is it to you? Like, what do you lose out of it? Like, just your little bit of time that you spent, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Just one more thing before we go, and I know that we're swapping rooms in a minute.
You get kicked out.
We're going to get kicked out. But you brought up quite a funny post where you had your legs in a photo.
Post here.
You had your legs in a photo with a laptop next to you, and you were echoing what a lot of ladies do to get maybe attention.
Yeah.
And what was the thoughts behind that?
I saw two posts from people that I follow, and they put pictures of their legs with a laptop and a book and on a bed. And I've seen it before, and I just saw it that week, and it happened to be twice in 1 week, and I thought, fuck it, I'm sorry, I don't know.
So I can bleep it out.
Yeah, I thought, I'm just going to do it. So I did it, and it worked really well. It worked really well on LinkedIn, and then I got loads of people messaging me, connection requests and things like that, and some of them were a bit inappropriate, but yeah.
I don't know if I could do it. My leg's a bit hairy, but maybe I'll try. Thanks very much, Edward. Good talking to you.
Cool. Thank you.
Tom, can you tell me a little bit more about your talk? You mentioned in it that we're lazy, and that's why companies like Google are so big. Tell me a little bit more about why you feel that way.
Well, I was just reflecting on why are Google so big? Now, they've got a good system, but it's not, having worked, I work in SEO, it's not as clever as they make it sound. But I think fundamentally, it's on everyone's devices, it works enough, it works quickly. People can't be bothered to look for another solution. I think fundamentally it's grown because everyone's using it, and it is good, but rather than people haven't looked around. I mean, when I looked around, there's other really good ones out there that give you really good results. They look different, and no one likes change.
Yeah, and they DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. There's Swiss Cows. I mean, they're very They're very privacy focused, so they don't track you. I think the fundamental question and the lazy point was more: do we actually care about our privacy, or is it just a good thing to talk about? A bit like we talk about big data and politics and Brexit. I mean, do people care? Yeah, some people do really care. Do the majority? I'm not so sure. No. Is it just governments? Is there an agenda? I don't know.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Insurance companies, we were just talking before, I think they play on the fact that people can be apathetic about renewing. I mean, I set a reminder in advance, in advance, and even then I get to like, can't even bother to change over.
No, do you know what? Completely, absolutely. I mean, there's loads of industries that make money just because people repeat mobile phones. You just monthly you go back to the car phone warehouse, they tell you the best one. You're like, do you read the terms and conditions? Do you actually do the maths? No. We're just lazy.
Yeah. So we have to be less lazy. We have to go and use
less lazy people. We need to look around.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
That's all right. No worries.
So Helen, in your talk, you spoke a lot about remarketing and how and gave us loads of tips really on how to use it. But you also said it's underused. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and why you feel that way?
The reason I feel like that is because I work, obviously, as a digital advisor. I go into a lot of companies to find out what they're doing right and wrong with digital marketing. And the majority of them are not actually doing any retargeting. It always blows my mind because I think it's probably it just doesn't make any sense that somebody comes into your shoe shop and you couldn't be bothered about getting them back in. I mean, that doesn't make, and I know that that's happening in real life retail as well. There isn't this incentive for people to come back. And for a customer to become a customer, what you need is them to come back. And I think it's something like 96% of people don't take any action the first time they visit your website. So you need them to come back again. And this just makes sense. This is just a way of getting them to come back.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of people expect they put out all the marketing, they do all the fanfare, and expect everyone to buy first time, and it just doesn't work.
Oh, yes. They think, I've got a great product, everyone's going to buy it. Well, they're really not. And so, you need to you build a relationship with them. And I suppose I always relate marketing as a relationship. You can't have sex on the first date. Well, I mean, I suppose you can. But generally speaking, you can't go up to someone in a bar and say, let's go home and have sex. You generally have to get to know them.
You need to warm them up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So remarketing works in that way. They get to know you a little bit. They start seeing the value that you add. And they start to get to know you and feel like they do know you and trust you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And any of the preferred platforms that you like working with for remarketing?
Facebook, of course.
I know a lot of people dispute that Facebook is great, but I still get some of the best return on investment, and Google and YouTube. YouTube's also very underutilized, and video, of course, is consumed highly. So
yeah, personally, I love YouTube. So anything more I can, and I actually didn't realise you could retarget on views as well. So that's something I'll be looking into.
Yeah. So and I know with the custom intent audiences that I was talking about as well, the nice thing is that you can also look for people that have searched a certain term, then they go on to watch a cat video on YouTube, and you can follow them there and put your ad in front of them as well.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a bit more of that.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It was a great talk.
Thank you very much.
So we've been working on a great workshop where we were trying to come up with 6 numbers to run our business by, and usually when I've spoken to accountants about this, it's all about profit, income, and other numbers which you can't really impact. But during the workshop, we had to work through and find numbers that we could actually change and make an impact on, so that we could improve them. And one of the examples, we went through a business that Natalie works in and looked at various different KPIs that she might be able to use in her business. So maybe Natalie, just tell us a little bit about the business and it will give us some context to this.
Yeah, so I work for a property management company, and this particular example is a workspace we've got opening in Clifton in Bristol. It's going to fit 250 people at any one time, and we've got the task of selling and filling it by January. So at the moment I've got a KPI document that's very, very muddy, a lot of detail, and it's then quite difficult to report to my MD. So we were going through basically streamlining those KPIs and just having 4 that I could then give to my MD, who can see basically like what's going on in the company and get the picture.
Yeah, and I think the idea is to give them confidence that things are moving in the right direction, but not have them worry so much about exactly what you're doing, because you're able to go and empower you really to do the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we would still have a KPI document that does break down the various different marketing things, but this one KPI sheet, I guess, would be like a snapshot of everything going on for him.
Yes, and we've got a sheet here. So do you want to show that up to the camera? See if we can get it in picture. I don't know if we'll be able to see that. I'll quickly read it out, and then you can go through it. So basically at the top we've got the activity, and this is where we wouldn't necessarily look at any specific thing that Natalie would be doing, but it's looking at the total amount of hours put into sales, pay-per-click, YouTube videos, anything like that. Next on the list was the average cost per tenancy, or average cost per order. And that's a really useful one because you want to know what the cost is for the amount of orders coming in. And then we've got your R for number 3, which is the average room rate. And this is useful so that while Natalie can make sure that the boss is still getting the average amount of money they want. And then what's the final one? The number of tenants. So just making sure that you're on a regular basis, you've got the right number of tenants that you're expecting. Now you can come out from behind that paper.
Yeah.
So do you think that will be, going through this, would this be reasonably easy information to collect?
I think it would be, because I've got the more detailed KPI document from the marketing and sales team. So we already collect that info anyway. I think this would just make it a lot neater and easier to people to see very quickly what's going on. And I think the formulas that we've got down work really easily as well.
Yeah, cool. Thanks very much for that, Natalie.
Okay,
Good to speak to you.
problem.
So Rob's joined me down in Bath because I've been banging on about the Bath Digital Festival. He had to find out what it was all about. And our kids go to the same school, so that's how we know each other. In fact, do you want to give a shout out to your company as well?
So I'm Rob Hopkins, the head of digital acquisitions at TFD, based down in London. But yeah, as Ben said, he dragged me down here kicking and screaming. Not really. I really enjoyed the day, to be fair. I've got an awful lot out of it.
And you'd not been before?
No.
So I'm glad to drag you down. So yeah, let's start at the end. And I went to a workshop which was about the 6 numbers that you need to, 6 KPIs really that you need in your business to know it's performing well. Wasn't sure what to expect. It's 2 hours long, so it's quite intense.
Yep.
But I thought it was one of the best workshops of the day.
Definitely.
Do you want to give us a little summary of what happened?
So obviously what we did, or what we had to look at was the kind of key KPIs that actually, one, were forward-facing, so forward-looking, if you like.
That is very important.
And that is absolutely crucial. And very poignant actually. It really made sense once we actually got to kind of doing this stuff in the workshop. But also, it was about basically being able to kind of extract yourself from the kind of minutiae of whether PPC works or SEO works or what the KPIs or how many tweets you put out, that kind of stuff, but actually more about the kind of macro view and actually what is the value that you're trying to build in a company, and then how do I actually measure that value? What are the KPIs for that company?
We had a great example where we had to pretend we were running a camel racing organisation.
Company, yeah.
Yeah. And we came up with quite an elaborate way of actually not worrying about what the value of the camels were or whether we were going to win or not.
No.
And actually, it was all about brand recognition of the camels, having influencer camels out there, so that we didn't worry about whether the camels would win or lose a race.
No,
it
not
was.
at all.
It was going to be more about what can we do to make the camels worth more money than they are from a sort of a sale point of view, and what we can do to increase the audience, increase the numbers, so they have a sort of a brand value to them.
Yeah, we wanted to
dominate the market.
We wanted to dominate the market, but we wanted to have some kind of USP. And the example that I gave was actually within the gold rush. We wanted to be the people selling the wheelbarrows, not doing the actual, digging for gold. And in this case, the gold was the camels, and actually the wheelbarrows were, and I'm sure Ben, you'll come on to this later on, but the wheelbarrows were things like actually the little robots that sit on top of the camels.
Yeah, no, this is fab, and I talked about this with Bill. I had a little interview with him at the end, and there were lots of. He presented us with a fact sheet, so we go through, and so we can understand the camel racing business. And one of the things I didn't realise is that because they used to use children for riding on the camels, and they're not allowed to do that now. I can't remember when it was outlawed.
It was banned in 2002, apparently.
Right, that's quite recent.
Yes.
So now they use robots to do it. So you've got these little robots on top, and the owners of the camel can control the robot's whip. They can also speak to the camel from the robot, which I think is
because it's got some kind of walkie-talkie in it.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
And so we were saying, well, what if we could be the company who owns this robot and we can sell them to all the other camels? I mean, we're probably diving into too much detail for it, but it really got us thinking, and the whole point behind it was not to for the exercises to sort of remove us from our companies. So just think about this, so we could be objective and come up with KPIs that would work for this fictional business.
Yeah.
And actually, when we went through and talked about Natalie's business, who was one of our on our team table, which was a property business.
Yeah.
That we actually sort of reused a lot of those ideas that we talked about, and actually I've come up with a couple of KPIs from that experience that I'm definitely going to push on some of our clients and hopefully find it useful. So I thought that was really good. Thank you very much, Bill. It was really good.
It was very, very good. Really enjoyed it, actually.
The last one, which I've written a huge amount of notes on here, was from Helen Tonetti, I think her surname is. Helen Tonetti from Make Digital Work. And her talk was about inside-out branding.
Yes.
And oh boy, there's a lot of information in this particular one. But in essence, she was talking about remarketing. And how remarketing is underused by a lot of people in the marketing industry generally, companies. And basically going step by step through different ways to use remarketing technology.
Yeah.
Basically, she had a chart of the different users from customers all the way through to people who don't know you and how you might use remarketing in each of those stages.
Yeah.
Now, I don't use remarketing at all. It's just not a focus of ours, but I know you do a lot in the businesses you work with.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of our clients we use remarketing for because, to be honest, they get an awful lot of traffic, so they've got an awful lot of traffic actually on the website. So it would be wrong not to use remarketing.
Yeah.
But also we're driving a lot of traffic to, in some cases, particular product pages and stuff. But if we're driving thousands of people there on a daily basis, I think the stat is something like 96% of them won't convert, won't do anything. They'll hit the landing page and they'll leave. So if we weren't actually retargeting them, basically we would have lost 96 out of every 100 people that we're sending there.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of wrong. However, I think there are a couple of things, or definitely one, that I think you and I have discussed. And this is the kind of the GDPR, the legislative...
The lurking GDPR in the background.
The big bogey monster, as it were, that especially in the UK and across the rest of the EU, it has an impact on these kind of things, especially on remarketing.
I think what she was saying is great. I mean, there are lots of great
Yeah, I
ideas
think
here.
it's really, really good.
And actually, whether you're doing remarketing or not, there's a lot of takeaways. I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably one of my biggest notes here. But the caveat is, the huge caveat is, you must work towards regulations. Just to finish off, I know you didn't see the first one I saw, which was from on video, but just one of the earlier ones the question was for the workshop or the talk, is Google a monopoly? And I guess Tom sort of danced around that idea, but I think essentially what he said is that really, yes, Google may be the majority search engine on the internet. Facebook may be the majority social network for some people. Maybe not everyone, maybe Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok. But if we don't, I think the crux of what he was saying is, if we don't want that to happen, we need to not be lazy.
Yeah.
And we need to go and use other systems. But unfortunately, as people, we just default to what's easiest. And Google's pretty darn good at coming up with results. That's how it got its dominant position. And people are unwilling to try other things like DuckDuckGo. What was the other one? I didn't make a note of it. Swiss cows.
I think it was, yeah. If I always use the example of my mum. If my mum's searching for some information...
Does your mum know about it?
My mum is aware, although she's not entirely aware of what I do. So, but it's the mum test. What would my mum do? My mum has just about come to grips with the fact that she's got a map on her phone, and if she puts in where she wants to go, it will tell her if she's about to run into, traffic, and it will reroute her. And she kind of likes that, really. She doesn't really understand it, doesn't really care. But, that's fine. And also, when she's searching something on Google, when she's searching something, she'll go directly to Google.
Yeah.
Just because the world and his wife has been talking about Google for I don't know how many years, 20 years probably. And actually, she knows that the chances are she'll be able to find whatever it is she wants on Google. And it's because she's what she's become used to.
Yeah.
And maybe it is laziness, maybe it's familiarity, but as long as we're aware of as you say, the swap we've done, which is, okay, we haven't paid for it in pound notes, as it were, but we've paid for it in our data. We've paid for it in, we've paid for it in them, whether it's Google, Facebook, whatever, knowing that we like, fast cars, or we like playing golf or whatever, then actually that's a fair swap. I think it's when it isn't as explicit as that actually then there becomes a problem. I think that's why, again, GDPR actually became a law.
Yeah.
It's because people didn't realise they were doing that swap.
Yes.
And maybe they didn't care, but maybe they just didn't know.
Do you know, actually, that people didn't realise, I think is important. And that comes down to me for default, from a point of view of the power of defaults. Because I think a lot of people on an Android would use Google Maps.
Yes.
I think a lot of people on an iPhone would use Apple Maps, unless they had a preference not to.
Yeah.
But you've got to overcome that sort of huge weight of having to change away from your sort of default map provider, which you can't actually even set. If you want to use Google, you can't set Google as your default map provider. It's always going to kick you back to Apple Maps generally by default. So you've got to actually overcome a huge weight in order to move over to that one, and vice versa.
It's got to be really painful, basically. It's a bit like trying to change your gas and electricity provider.
Thanks very much. It's I've had a great day today. Got another day tomorrow, half day, and see what's going to happen. It's all very exciting.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ben. Cheers.
My pleasure. My last day at Bath Digital Festival, and just got 3 lined up today. Just a half day. I've got to get back. Got to get on with some work. But basically, the workshops I'm going to see are hypercharged growth. That's actually a new one for me. I'm not sure what to expect. Then next up is the need for humane tech, and this is looking at how voice assistants can be, or maybe we can use the same technology in a less nefarious way, and that's their words, not mine. And can technology save the planet? So I'm looking forward to that one too. I've had a really good time at Bath Festival. Obviously, we'll see how the roundup goes, but I've learned a lot and I've interviewed a lot of people, so I'll be pulling all that together and we'll see how that works out. See you later. I loved your talk about humane technology, particularly with attention, because I sit on 2 sides of the fence with data and attention and that sort of thing. One, as a marketer, I love data, it's really useful, but also as a dad, and my kids, I don't want them to spend too much time using that and affected by it. So, I'm very much into what you were saying, but then on the other side of marketing, it's a tough thing to climb. Could you give me some of your thoughts on attention and how we can kind of combat that?
Yeah, I think I haven't got an issue necessarily with the desire to gain people's attention. What I think where we've ended up is the fact that we are scrambling over an ever reducing level of attention of individuals. This race to the bottom, and I think an approach and a principle to follow is people's time is precious. Therefore, you must respect that. Therefore, you must give them value. Don't bombard people with useless pieces of information. Content marketing, in many ways, has fallen into that trap.
Yeah, absolutely. I see it all the time.
Yeah, you must do as a marketer too, right? You just see, we've got to get something out. We've got to get something out.
Yeah, you know what? I feel that pressure as well. Sometimes from companies that they want you to do that, and I feel that resistance.
Yeah, and there's a John Lennon line, and I didn't talk about it. I kind of vaguely mentioned it in the talk. From a song called Julia, which is half of what I say is meaningless, but I say it just to reach you. Yeah. And that's it, right? We are so desperate for people's attention that we'll give them any old nonsense, and guess what? That turns them off. Yeah. And the answer has been, well, personalisation is the answer to it.
Yeah, let's personalise that nonsense.
Yeah, let's personalise that. It's still nonsense, right? I'm getting nonsense that is actually more focused on the type of stuff I don't want to read, the type of stuff I'm not interested in. So have a better understanding. I think the focus of attention is have a better understanding of what your customers, what your audience actually really wants. And don't be scared to actually put stuff out there that stands by your principles, but might not necessarily stand by theirs. We're all so focused on pleasing people, we're all so desperate for their attention, that some companies, there's a jeans company called Hyatt Denim, who refused to partake in Black Friday. They closed their shop down for a day because they're not going to take part in that desperate grab for people's money.
And it is a desperate grab. It's eroding itself.
It is. We're eating ourselves. Right? The industry is eating ourselves. There is and that oft-used phrase, race to the bottom. Well, we are. We've got this diminishing attention span of individuals. We're desperately trying to grab a second here, a second there, a glimpse here, a click there. Stop. Take a breath. Stand true to who you are as a business and as a marketeer and as a... and I'm guilty of it as much as anyone, but I'm beginning to step back from it. No, this is what I am. I'm transparent. I'm very upfront. We're very upfront as a business. We hope you engage with us. But if you don't, that's fine. Now, commercially, some people go, well, that's suicide. Why on earth would you want to do that? Well, if you understand your customers, if you understand your business, if you understand the mechanism and the best way to connect to people, actually, that's probably going to stand you in better stead moving forward. At the moment, we're all responding to Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, the competition that has more money than us and has more marketeers than us. And, you know, just try and find your spot, try and find your niche, try and understand your audience in a way that is completely transparent. Ask them questions. Once you start asking questions, however naive and however against the grain that might be, then you start to understand what your audience really want, and maybe you can give them information that they find useful. Yeah. I've switched off hundreds of newsletters and I still get about 20 emails a day.
Oddly, I've gone through the same process. And you start to think, does anyone like me anymore? Because your emails cut down so much.
Yeah.
But actually, because a lot of it was crap that was coming through, or just stuff that had been signed up for and it wasn't relevant anymore.
No.
And it's nice to actually have that calm.
Yeah.
So just on the other side, so you've got the marketing side, and on the other side, just as a parent, is there anything I can do to help my children not get caught up in this?
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because my daughter's 16 now, and we did not allow, it's probably too strong a word, but we said to her, we don't want you going on social media until you're 12, 13.
Right.
And that was frustrating for her, but she understood the reasons why. Yeah. We articulated to her and she found out herself. So she had that embedded understanding of what the pluses and minuses were of social media. And from my view, I think kids are much more aware of what technology can do in terms of addiction. They're much more aware nefarious nature of some of the technology and the nefarious nature of some people online. And I think what I've learned is I've given her more. She gets more credit than I did initially. She knows it's natural. She's growing up in this environment. The other side of that, which is where we have to be careful as parents, is that it's a very normal way of communicating and interacting. We're digital immigrants. Yeah. We remember the world before the internet. They're natives, or however you want to call it. So what we might find, get off that phone. Why are you on that phone again? They're having a communication in exactly the same way that we were probably in the pub when we were 16, 17, when we were fully into it. So I think that from my perspective, it's always been being clear with my daughter. This is the pluses and minuses. Asking her questions around the education she's getting from school, with her friends, actually trusting and going, right, you understand. And in many ways, actually, what I found is that she's getting access to information around climate change, around societal transformation and the challenges, and she's becoming much more aware. So I think it's a nervous balance sometimes between the two. And I don't know how old your kids are.
So they're 9 and 10.
Yeah, so they
similar sort of age.
Get into it.
I wonder if it's that helping her step back a little bit, just a little bit, so that she can start to refine those choices, so that when that flood of data comes in, it's at least going in the right direction.
Perspective.
And she's got feels like she's got some choice over it, rather than just going straight into that flood, just taking what's there.
Yeah, and that's it. There's this occasion you've got to look up, right?
Yeah.
And that was the kind of idea from that. It's just like, here's the information, be aware of it.
Yeah.
But just every now and again, just step back and go, okay, is that healthy? And that's only because, probably like yourself, it's only been the last few years I've been aware of that myself. Been able to put my hand up and go, A, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And B, I'm flooded with information. I need help, or you've got to stop sending me this stuff.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, but you get that, right? Yeah. Stop sending me this stuff. It's absolutely, it's no good to my mental health. It's no good to your business. Just slow down.
Yeah.
What are we trying to achieve?
Yeah. Good talking to you. Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
It's been a fantastic festival because there's been so much diversity.
There has, hasn't there?
Yeah, and just I didn't expect it to be such a high standard of speaker on every occasion, such diverse backgrounds. It's not ever been along a single line of conversation. It's kind of taken,
quite varied, isn't it?
Yeah, all directions.
Are there any talks that you've been to over the last few days that you've really pulled out a few interesting things from?
Actually, today I went to one which was all on the humane aspect of tech, which was very philosophical, but I think had a lot of applies to most businesses, and that was one. Definitely, another one that stands out was I forget the name of the lady. Unfortunately, she's a lecturer at Bath University who has been working with the government on artificial intelligence and working with the big corporations on that, and just understanding how they're being presented, the way technology is evolving.
Oh, right.
That was very interesting. Let me think, what else was there? Bits that are still. I really enjoyed our session yesterday, the workshop.
Oh yeah, so we were in that together, although I forgot at the time, but then we were talking afterwards.
Indeed.
But that was the one where it was about 6 numbers to run your business.
Mm-hmm.
We were in different groups, but the same workshop. And it was funny, we were talking earlier today, and it's funny how just different groups of people can come up with quite different numbers, really.
Mm-hmm.
But what we both liked is that even though we've all come from different businesses, we didn't know each other, there was a very democratic way forward where we all had to discuss which numbers we felt were best for this fictitious business that we were coming up with. And actually, that was really useful.
Yeah,
really
and agree on what we all wanted out of this fictitious business. Which, when you don't know the people you're doing this with, just even establishing those basic kind of the basic grounding of where you're trying to build these 6 numbers, and I like the fact that there was that. It was a really interactive experience.
It was.
It wasn't.
Did you feel that maybe people were more honest or open? So let's say everyone was in the same business.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they could just follow each other and say, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll go with this person. But actually, we had no vested interest to win. We all wanted us to succeed, I felt it was quite collaborative.
It was very collaborative. And of course, I've seen in sort of previous sessions where you're doing this with a group of people, there's generally the leader stands out or the person who's driving it forward. But actually, everybody was very respectful, and clearly everybody realized that we all have that background to ease off, and there wasn't there wasn't so much so yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't like The Apprentice where everyone's trying to take control.
No one was fired.
Not yet. So tell me, what brings you to Bath Digital Festival? Why did you take some time out of your work to come and spend a couple of days here and learn lots of stuff?
I'm new to Bath. I actually have a company that was incorporated in Canada, and we're opening up an establishment here, registered as a company overseas. And Bath was, somebody dropped it into conversation a number of weeks ago, and the fact it's on my doorstep, Bath is such an accessible place. I just thought that I was also then told a few days ahead of the festival that this would be a good place to get a broad understanding of what the tech environment of Bath and Bristol looks like, and who's involved in that, and what's driving kind of the what's the driving force behind. And it really has, because of the diversity of the events and the number of really interesting people in such a concentrated space that I've met, it's really delivered on the expectation that I had from that. I honestly actually didn't expect the level of quality that I've witnessed from it. So
they'll be pleased to know that. And what's your business? What do you do?
So we are called iConnected Home, as I say. We are building an app called Moments, which is a smart home helper in your pocket. We want to help people on their smart home journey and help them understand why they would even buy a smart home product in this big, so much choice. To really do why would I buy a product that's often quite expensive, and what value does that deliver me on a tangible basis? So what could help me maybe on a health level of wake up more easily, or gauge my sense of circadian rhythms, and I'm working with them, to how does my energy bills look like, to how do I feel more secure about my home or my family while I'm away, and of course the time-saving aspect. So we're introducing people to that before they buy anything, and helping them through the purchasing process, and then actually eliminating a lot of the setup and confusion around ecosystems. So it's a big equation. We're very early on. But it's been fantastic to come from, as I say, the west coast of Canada to the west coast of England, west country of England, and back to home, and discover that this has got such a great community here.
There's a huge world of
and I can apply it in so many ways here as well. So
good. Well, thank you, and lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Thank you for taking the time.
We better get back to work.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's it. I've got to catch my train soon, but that's my final day at the Bath Digital Festival. Thanks, guys, for organising it. It was great. Thanks to all the speakers I met. You were fab. And thank you for letting me pinch a bit of your time at the end as well to grab videos of you. It's awesome, really, and I'll definitely do this again next year. And recommend it to anyone else, really, if they want to open their eyes on technology or just want to learn something in their particular field. It's definitely worth attending, as it's quite varied. As long as you've got an open mind, you're going to learn a lot here. So I'm now going to get on the train, sort out all my notes, and we'll put this together in a video for you to see what's going on. See you next time. Thank you for listening. If you want to find me, I'm at Ben Kinnaird on Twitter, or you can email me, hello@ratherinventive.com, or come along to one of our events. Just check out the website, ratherinventive.com/events. You can find the show notes for this episode on our website. Just go to ratherinventive.com/podcast. And while you're there, do subscribe to our video feed on YouTube, or if you use iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, subscribe on those. And you can support our podcast by giving us a rating on iTunes and by checking out our sponsor, 34SP. Make sure you use the code WPInventive to get your first 3 months free of WordPress hosting. Boom, dicky, 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 boom.